It's great to be with you today. Before we get started, I thought this was a great quote and a great way to kind of ground us here a little bit. So I have the good fortune of I do a weekly podcast show. So if you're a teacher who's dying to get on the radio, hand me your card and we'll have a conversation. But in those conversations, I talk to teachers, I talk to other experts in their field, and this was a teacher from Orange City, Florida, and I think it's a good reminder about the importance of the role that we have in the classroom that might be different from a lot of other subject areas. What he said was when you teach something real world and something students can benefit from and something they can translate into their real lives, they'll remember you. And I see people nodding, and there's probably students who've come back and told you specifically about how you help them. I mean, you talk about a great motivator, a great way to feel like we're making a difference. I think teaching financial education provides you with that opportunity. So I tend to be very ambitious in terms of what I want to accomplish here. But before I jump into the agenda, I hired a team of folks this summer to answer the question, how is personal finance being taught in all 50 states? What they've done is they've gone to 11,000 school websites, gone into the program guides and the curriculum to answer two questions. One is around access. So what would you guess the percentage of students who have access to a full semester standalone personal finance course?
5%, 50%,
I got 5 and I got 50, and the answer is 8.6%. So that's a standalone graduation requirement. And that's aside, there's 5 states that have that requirement, so we took them out. If we include them, it's about 16%. So less than 1 in 5 students. Go to low-income neighborhoods, it's half that. And so one of my missions as an organization is not only to create great curriculum that you can use and provide great training, but it's to advocate. Because this is like, in my travels, I think I've been to 20 states this year. I inevitably have conversations with people on planes and the airport. I'm the guy you don't want to sit next to. And anytime I tell people what I do, they say, that's a class I wish I had. And yet, the numbers suggest that we don't seem to really have a real commitment to it. We being kind of people in power, the policy people who can make a difference. And so, our commitment as an organization is, and I see this as kind of a 10-year sprint, is that number better get above 50%. And we're trying to do that, again, free curriculum, free training, and advocacy. So we went into New Jersey, and I have these great research folks. So they take the course descriptions and they create a word cloud. So this is all the schools that we were able to pull information from websites around course descriptions, what words showed up most frequently. And so you see, in New Jersey, personal finance can be mixed into other courses. And so you see things like business, economics, you see kind of the strategies. Credit clearly shows up most frequently. I think that was the number 6 cited. But then some things don't show up, like college planning. It drives me bonkers when I read standards that don't include any discussion about college or post-secondary. It doesn't have to be college, just post-secondary. Because you just need to look at the $1.5 trillion in student debt to say, wow, maybe we should be spending more time on this topic. So I'm going to give you a solution to that. So that's kind of, and we've done that for all 50 states, and it's kind of fascinating to see how different states emphasize different topics. So my agenda today, and I'm already behind schedule, is we're going to kick things off and have you do a scavenger hunt, which means I think you've got handouts. Basically give you an opportunity to navigate our website. And those of you who've done this before, I'd encourage you to think, if you want to think kind of more narrowly, think about a unit you want to update and then do the scavenger hunt through the lens of, okay, I'm just going to focus on credit, or I'm just going to focus on paying for college. You're going to get a chance to play a new college game that we've created. So you're actually kind of going to be beta testers. So it's not going to be a perfect game, but you'll get an opportunity to test it out, and I'd love to get feedback because we're still iterating on that. Then I'm going to have you experience what a case study looks like. And then finally, I'll tell you a little bit about us. I save that stuff for last because I know you guys want to start doing stuff. So with the scavenger hunt, you basically just go to our website. You'll see on the second page kind of a set of questions. The first page is how you navigate our website. And I think it'll become more evident when you go to our website. But I want you to spend 15 minutes kind of completing, and the goal again is not to finish it. The goal is like, I'll fly back to California with a smile on my face if I know everybody's taking something away from here that they can use. And so the goal is like, okay, what can I find on their website that I could use that would work in my classroom? So that's 15 minutes of searching, then a 5-minute pair share, where maybe you circle the resource you thought would be most useful, share it with your neighbor, and maybe you'll get another idea. The game is Spent, and the website is playspent.org. Playspent.org. You can find it in our interactive library. And the reason I think it's so powerful is because we can tell kids until we're blue in the face, you have to have an emergency savings account. You have to have an emergency. And they look at you and they're like, yeah, sure. When they play that game, they're living on the edge with no savings. The goal is survival over 30 days. We've created a great worksheet because the reflections that come out of that exercise are incredibly powerful. Kids will be jumping out of their seat, not literally. There'll be a buzz in your class as they go through this. And they'll compare what their outcomes are. And it's literally a 15-minute game, but it's totally immersive. It's not a ton of, people firing cannons and things like, it's just good decision. It's decision making condensed into a real short time frame. So I can't say enough about Play Spent. Anything else? And actually, along the lines, Play Spent is a game we did not create. We found it. Yeah, and so that's what we spend, and Barbara spends her time doing too, is just looking for they're out there. It takes time. And actually, I had a podcast guest who told me about the game about 1.5 years ago. We investigated it and said, this would be a great game, and everybody who plays it loves it. So we tell kids to read the fine print, then we never teach them how to read the fine print. We dumb it down. Guess what? That credit card agreement is not dumbed down. Guess what? The checking account agreement is not dumbed down. So the fine print is a real live, there's a rental agreement too. It's a real life document with 10 multiple choice questions that are not, define this term. It's like real decision. Do they understand the implications of what they're signing up for? So that's called the fine print. I think we have 13 of them. I want you to try this game. So if you liked Spent, we love Spent. We went to the folks who made it and we said, there isn't a good game to teach kids about the implications they're making when they go to college. And so we said, create a 15-minute game where students will make a decision about what college they go to, the 20 or 30 decisions they're going to have to make while they're in college, and then the job, where they get the first paycheck and they can see the student loan payment associated with it. So that's all I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you 10 minutes. It is in beta, which means it's not perfect. It's not mobile optimized, so if you don't have a big screen, a tablet, or a laptop, please share with somebody because you'll get real frustrated real quickly if you try it on mobile. But I want you to just play the game. And again, it's not perfect, and I'm going to kind of ask you for feedback, suggestions you might have about how we can make it better. But the place, and you have to kind of be very exact with this, http://paybackstaging.herokuapp.com. And that should get you to the game. And going to an out-of-state public school often is going to cost you the same amount as a private school. And you may not, like I know that I'm from the state of California, the UC system, which used to be free, is now 50 grand plus if you're out of state. And so it's right up there. And I think that's kind of like kids will watch on TV, they'll be like, Oregon's got a great football team, I want to go to Oregon. And they live in the state of California, and then suddenly you look at the numbers. Because if you go to an out-of-state school, you're likely to get less grant money too. Because you don't live in the state and they don't want to use taxpayer dollars to fund somebody else to go to school in the state. So cool. Well, keep your eyes out. In the next 3 weeks, we'll be releasing the game. We'll also have a worksheet because obviously in 15 minutes, you're going through a ton of decision making, from picking a college to budgeting in college to figuring out where you want to work. And so what we'll do is we'll align our activities and projects that we have with parts of the game. So you can refer back to it afterwards when you're doing the project to say, remember when you had to make a decision about colleges and there were only 2 numbers there, sticker price and aid. Well, then you can have a good discussion about what net price is. And now it suddenly has come to life because they had to make a decision based on it. So I just wanted to finish. I wanted to make sure I told you about other things that we do as an organization. So we obviously have the curriculum, which you see. Everything we do is free and always will be. There isn't a business model here. I was an entrepreneur earlier, had some luck, and am funding the organization, and will be funded far, far, far into the future. And so this is not a let's get people hooked and then put up a paywall and not give you access. So everything there is free. The only reason you'd ever need to register on our website is if you want answer keys and access to our 800-question assessment bank. For obvious reasons, we only want teachers accessing those. And so the simplest way to do that is send an email to laura@nextgenpersonalfinance.org. Again, that's laura@nextgenpersonalfinance.org. And give her a link to your school page, or if you're at a nonprofit, the nonprofit you're working at. We want to verify. We've had some kids, you know how students are. If you actually type in NGPF, the first thing Google suggests is NGPF answers. So there's kids and we've had kids try and send us emails and go through the charade and then we Google them and realize they were 14-year-old Little League stars. Yeah, it's easy to track people these days. So that's the way to get access. But basically, we do a lot of professional development too, from in-person things like Barbara and Maureen both went to our Summer Institute, and the applications for that come out in January. But that's an intensive 3-day, all expenses paid, come out to California and collaborate with 12 other teachers nationally. So really small, intimate setting. We also, those of you who are in districts, or those of you who have folks, in your organization, we do a 1-day fin camp. We'll come to you. The only thing we ask is bring us 20 to 30 to 40 teachers, and we'll do a 1-day intensive professional development. So a lot more, and I think you'll find our attitude is very similar to Barbara's. Get teachers to collaborate, get teachers to create and curate content. So it's a really engaging session. Again, we underwrite the cost. We just need to we want to know that we're having impact, which means there's a lot of teachers in the room. And so that's called a fin camp. We also do online. Those of you who feel like, I don't have anybody in my building or anybody in the school to collaborate with, we do online, what we call professional learning communities. So that's another option. We do monthly webinars, and we got an archive of them. Let's say you want to update your checking unit. We did a webinar specifically focused on that because we have to move beyond writing checks and doing check registers because everyone's using online banking. So we kind of help fill the void if you're looking for other ideas there. And then, as I mentioned, I do a weekly podcast, and Barbara has been a guest. And then also have a blog and a newsletter. Those of you who want to stay current, we have a blog on our website, and every day we commit to doing 2 posts. I feel the pressure every day of coming up with 2 ideas. And basically what it is scanning the headlines for news. Hey, what's the average credit score of millennials? There's a study that just came out about that. Or how are families paying for college? There's a student debt survey done by Sally Mae. We're trying to kind of find out what's current, and then also provide a spin perhaps on how you could use it in your classroom. So it's not just here's a link to an article. It's like, hey, here are 3 questions you could ask. Here's another activity or project you could link it to. So that's the blog, which you can subscribe to too and get kind of those 2 posts. So that's kind of what we do around professional development. You know, those of you who are like, okay, I want to update my curriculum because I know the financial world's changing. I did a more elaborate presentation about that topic focused on banking, investing, financial applications, retailing. You know, the world of retailing is changing dramatically because of one company, Amazon. And then lastly, careers. And so obviously, in the interest of time, I won't go through that, but what I will provide you is just a list of, here's some projects that we've created to kind of address each of those issues. So I'll make sure you all get a copy of that also.